Today, the January 6th committee investigating the Capitol riot asked the Supreme Court to decide by the middle of next month whether it will take a White House records case brought by the former president. The request came hours after he had asked the court to block the committee from getting about 700 pages of records. This follows losses in two lower courts that did not agree with his claims of executive privilege. The committee is seeking activity logs, schedules, speech notes, and 3 pages of handwritten notes from then White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows as they look into the former president's role in trying to overturn the election results. Joining us now, CNN Supreme Court analyst Joan Biskupic and CNN political commentator Margaret Hoover. Joan, how quickly could they do it, Joan, if they wanted to?
Okay, well, what both sides are saying is take it up in your January 14th conference. They could schedule it then for either the end of January or early February. The justices usually take a 4-week recess in February. They could hear it early February. They could then decide it in a couple of weeks. Back in 1974, the justices decided the Nixon tapes case just in a couple of weeks in July of 74. So they could do it. We could know about the archive being able to turn over those documents to the committee by the end of February, if the court takes it, if it doesn't deny it outright, which I think is dicey here.
So, Margaret, obviously, the time frame here is that the Democrats on the committee and Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, the Republicans, want or need this to happen before next year's elections, when the Republicans might take over and make this committee just simply poof, go away. The Supreme Court, look, it is interesting here because there are people who will say, oh, it's a 6-3 conservative court. They're just going to side with former President Trump on this. But there are actual, genuine legal questions here they may want to address.
Yes, and the court isn't so crassly political. I mean, this is one of the arguments you often hear the judges making, even as you listen to the most recent controversial hearing about on Dobbs versus this is the Planned Parenthood or the abortion case that they most recently heard. I mean, the justices to themselves and to the American public are arguing that this court is bound by precedent and bound by legal rules and the Constitution that have nothing to do with who appointed each justice. And I do think it's right that they very well, especially in the Roberts Court, a man who seeks to preserve the respect that the remaining respect the country has for its institutions, most especially the court, will try to forge a consensus and try to forge a unanimous decision on frankly, anything that comes before him, but particularly something as controversial and as political and prone to partisanship as this.
How important do you think these records are at this point? To me, especially after we've now seen these Mark Meadows texts, ones that he willingly handed over, the idea that there are 700 pages of things the former White House didn't want anyone to see, there could be a lot in there, Margaret.
It's enormously important, John, and the reason it's important has nothing to do with partisan politics. It has everything to do with what was happening in those 3+ hours. What was the President of the United States thinking, doing, and telling people as violence was unfolding at the Capitol? We know they were trying to mount what effectively is a procedural coup. They were trying to slow down the counting of the ballots and the transition of power. But what did they think about the violence? Did they think the violence was helpful to them? Was there potentially a legitimate dereliction of duty, which, by the way, from the outside certainly seems obvious? What was actually happening on the inside? We won't know until we see those documents. And this is a matter of maintaining our Constitution, maintaining our integrity as a country. This is a matter that is absolutely fundamentally important to our country, to our future, and we need to know.